I do want to talk about still sticking on with the character of Paul Walker's character Brian. Um, I know you're not a very emotional person, David, and I know I'm not a very emotional person. But man,
That
I can't remember which.
that third act of Furious
That's
7 hits hard.
that's a,
like
I, I love it so much, but it hits so hard.
like okay, and this thing, it's not even like the story isn't even sad. It's just knowing the real life side of it. It's just
It hits so hard. And like as it fades to black, like in memory of Paul Walker and stuff with that. Now I want to talk about that for a little bit because, so Fast and the Furious, they did the right thing in not recasting Brian O'Connor.
Oh yeah,
that would have been the worst move ever for them to do. And I think because there was a lot of people who said more recently with the death of Chadwick Boseman and saying, "Oh, just recast him, recast Black Panther." It's like, no. I think when it comes to stuff and obviously Paul Walker had been in the Fast and Furious franchise a lot longer than Chadwick Boseman had been in the Marvel universe, but it's still there's times where it makes sense to recast a character, Dumbledore in the Harry Potter movie. The first two is a different actor than the second, the later ones. And it's that kind of makes sense also because the story had already been written.
And he's also barely in the first two, so
yeah. And it's there are times that it makes sense and there's times that it's okay, I think. But when it comes to something like that, it's so much more respectful to not Paul Walker made that character who he was, and it's not something that you can have some other actor come in and do because they wouldn't do it justice. And it's not even that the actor would be bad; it's that the actor isn't the same one that you've known all this time. I think the same way with Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman did not necessarily define Black Panther because, Black Panther is a hero that's been around in the comics for years, but he defined the MCU version of Black Panther. And I think that needed to be honored. I think that obviously we're not talking about the Black Panther movie. I think they did that really well and really respectful. But that being said, I think as sad as the happy moment in Fast 7 is at the end there, I think it was really, really well done.
And I think the fact that Fast 7 was pretty much like I said, that third act was almost the entire third act was a tribute to Paul Walker. And I think they did that.
Yeah, he got in the car. It was a car crash that ended up killing him, I think, and he got in that midway through filming, right?
Because his
they're mostly done.
Because Paul Walker's brother actually had to finish filming Furious 7. What is his name?
I will say, as sad, I don't want to make jokes or anything like that about it, so I'm not trying to be funny with this, but it is kind of. No, that doesn't necessarily sound right. So, I don't necessarily know how I know I've read it before, but the accident that Paul Walker was in was his buddy or someone was driving, and the buddy was a stunt driver. And it's one of those things where it's Paul Walker being not Paul Walker, Brian O'Connor being the fast driving. It's he died the way that he lived. Not necessarily, because I don't know how much Paul Walker was in the cars, but
So when I actually had first heard about that, I thought, like at first, I thought that it was an accident that it was related to the movie.
What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
Um, but no, yeah, like you said, it was something that Paul Walker was in his personal life had was driving riding with his buddy.
Hmm.
But yeah, but no, talking about that movie, I think they did it very well. But like talking about like we said talking about last week, I don't get emotional in movies much.
Yeah.
But yeah, Furious 7 is one that
You gotta tear up a little bit.
yeah. Yeah,
It's kind of one of those.
And I think one of the reasons what makes it so sad is because it was real.
Yeah. I do kind of like how they mention him in the later ones, but they kind of let him phase out. Like they don't just kill the character off. Like at Fast 7, he's starting a family.
Like I think it was in Fast 9. It had like the car pulling into the driveway.
Yeah,
And, that was it.
it's like
Which
Ryan
I like
O'Connor is still in the universe, but
yeah,
even though the actor who played him is no longer with us.
yeah. And like I think they did. I know I've said this already, but I think they did that really well in Furious 7.
They did it so well that we have to keep saying it.
And honestly, that might be one of my more favorite ones, just because of that.
Yeah.
Like the plot itself, like you said, it's the same plot as all the other movies. I honestly don't even really remember the plot of Furious 7, but I remember all the Paul Walker moments.
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that that was the main focus of the movie. It was a tribute to Paul Walker.